Joe.
Monday is podcast day.
Monday's podcast day. I was going to say welcome, but actually I'm the one that should feel welcome. Today we're shooting in your house.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invite.
No.
It's very cozy.
I would say is I had enough of the fridge. That's all I'm going to say. I really just want to record a podcast where me and you can actually sit down comfortably and talk.
Yeah.
Not like this or not like this in our pocket the whole time.
I feel very comfortable. I love the decor you have in here. I love this Christmas tree. Oh my God, it even says Cremo on here. Oh, wow. Good job. Rita, good job.
You can thank Rita for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your week?
Not bad. Juggling between work, personal, and getting ready for Christmas and all that stuff, and in between try to catch a little bit of this what's happening with World Cup. You've been watching the World Cup?
A little bit, we definitely wish Canada good luck.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I've been a little bit busy myself. I know there's been a couple of upsets, but soccer's not really my thing. You already know basketball was like
football, not soccer.
Sorry.
Just joking. Just joking. Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, we had a lot of fun shooting our last podcast. I know you had fun interviewing me.
Yeah.
And we did get a couple emails and requests. We're like, okay, well, what about Joe? So we thought it would be a good idea today to maybe dedicate this podcast to interviewing you and getting to know you a little bit better. Of course, everyone knows that you're a very experienced realtor, but we want to know, Joe on a personal level as well.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I'm ready for it. I think there's going to be some stories where I really don't think I have actually shared it with anyone. My past, my experiences. So I think this will be a good episode for everybody to kind of, hear out a little bit just to see what my experience has been literally for the last 16 years.
The great reveal. I can't wait.
No.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So the first thing that I would like to know is, where are you from?
Whoa. Not like, whoa, what?
Okay, that's a loaded question. More so, can you tell me a little bit more about your childhood? Because I didn't meet you until we were already in our 20s. So I don't really know anything about your past.
Okay.
We've been working together for a while now. We've been friends for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So why don't you share with us a little bit about your background, your childhood, and anything that you'd like our listeners to know?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I'll start from this because I was actually talking to my mom yesterday in regards to this while I was on the phone. My mom is still shocked, to be honest, how I ended up with this career. Because apparently, according to my parents, I don't remember any of this, but I was a mute until I was 5 years old. I didn't speak a word. I didn't call mama.
Yeah.
I didn't call baba until, according to my mom, until I was like halfway through my 5th year.
Did they take you to a doctor?
They did.
Don't people usually speak when they're like 2?
They did. Apparently, my grandma did. My grandma was really concerned and then brought me to a bunch of doctors. And apparently, all the doctors says that my vocal cord is fine. I just have this refusal to speak until I was 5. Once again, I don't remember any of this. I don't think you remember anything when you're younger than 5, but apparently this is part of it. I wanted to add this in here to start, just because it's fresh in my memory because I was just talking to my mom yesterday. But fast forward a little bit, I came to Vancouver when I was grade 2. I'm from Taiwan. My parents are both from Taiwan. Initially, when I came to Vancouver, I think that was 91. I initially was living by the Oak Ridge area, by the YMCA Langara College. And then I think I lived there for a couple of years. I went to elementary school there, Van Horn Elementary School, if anyone still remembers or if it's still around. And then I moved to Richmond, and then I attended Thomas Kidd just because we were just talking about this before the podcast started, and then I ended up going to McNair, and then a little bit afterwards I decided to join the IB program, and that is how I ended up in Richmond High.
So you're intelligent since day one.
That's not true.
And you listened more and spoke less. So that's actually a very good sign for intelligent people.
Maybe now that's why I talk way more than I listen now too, because the quota, right?
You're making up for the last 5 years.
Exactly. But very typical Taiwanese immigrant parent. When I was growing up, my mom was here. I have 2 brothers, and I barely saw my dad. Just a lot of Taiwanese family grew up like this in Vancouver. I saw my dad on average about 7 to 10 days out of the year. He will come here for Chinese New Year, 7 days, off he goes. So literally kind of grew up with my mom and my 2 brothers. And that's kind of all the averages kind of just stops. As I obviously kind of got a little bit older, when I go into high school, just about to graduate from high school, my parents gave me a decision to make. You either stay in Vancouver and then you're on your own forever, or you come back to Asia, Taiwan. And I think that at that time my parents was in China to help out with the family. And then this is where I was very stubborn and I went, no thank you. I'm not interested. I did try. I would say I did try. Yeah. I just didn't enjoy the drinking culture as much.
What was like the family business?
We did import-export of textiles, yarns and stuff like that. That's as much as I know. Like, obviously I don't partake in it. So anyway, so I decided to stay, even though my family was like, you can't stay. I just decided, well, my life, my decision, I'm gonna stay as a very stubborn kid. And I remember my mom then came back to Vancouver, hand me a check for, I think, it was about $5,000. And then got rid of the house, got rid of everything, and then left. And I had a naive thinking at that time, I don't know why, I never got allowances ever, that I was like, ooh, $5,000, this is pretty good. I wonder if I'm just gonna get $5,000 going forward on every month on a monthly basis. That obviously didn't happen. And on top of that, that's also, just before all of this happened, that's also when I made the stupid decision to get a really nice car, kind of like when you were doing the podcast. I don't know what got into my head. I was like, ooh, the new IS. That's when IS 250, 300 from Lexus is brand new. They only had the ES. I was like, ooh, the IS, I like it. And I decided to lease it. I think the lease rate at that time was like 4%. Wow. But anyway, so, because of that and
you were 17. 18.
I was
17,
I was about 18, about 17, 18 at that time.
Yeah.
So like everything was kind of all set in place, and then my mom gave me the $5,000. I didn't think about the car. I didn't think about how expensive the city actually is to live on. I didn't think about any of that. So after 15 years, I guess of hard work in this very expensive city, I would say that I am now a very proud fur parent.
That's sweet. You may be able to see there's
so one here and one here, and for anyone that follows my IG, they know that I have the two Frenchies, and which I love very, very dearly, Coffee and Cremo.
So how did you come up with the names Coffee and Cremo? I know you love coffee, so maybe that, but how did you start with Cremo?
I don't know, to be honest. I can't quite recall. I just remember I wanted, if I did at that, I remember at that time I was still renting. I remember telling myself, if I ever go back into owning dogs, which I kind of grew up owning dogs, that I wanted to revolve on something that is I hold dearly to myself, which is for some reason, which is coffee. I drink a lot of coffee ever since I joined real estate, actually, and that's why I kind of wanted to have everything kind of revolve around just kind of like this. And then another thing is also because at that time I thought about my Chinese name. My Chinese name is Chao Chang, or CC Lee, as my girlfriend would like to call it. So I just thought, well,
keep the C's
and all that stuff. So that's kind of how the name kind of came about.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. And people who know you're very, very dedicated to your work. I mean, there's never been a time where I've tried to reach you and you've been unreachable. You always get back to me, and I know you're very dedicated to Coffee and Cremo. In the spare time that you do have, like, what do you like to do?
I do listen to a lot of podcasts. In fact, I was listening to podcasts before podcasts is even a thing. I started listening to podcasts over 10 years ago now. I still remember, about 10 years ago. At that time, everybody, our friends included, was very, very into EDM, artist this, artist that. And then I was going like, hey, have you guys heard this podcast? Have you guys heard that podcast? And as you can imagine, my friend just ignored the crap out of me. So that's what I like to do. Aside from that, really, aside from being a realtor, I would say I'm quite introverted. I like to kind of stay at home. I do watch quite a bit of YouTube, not on on random stuff. Documentaries is something I like. I like weird parts and points of history. Some of them just really intrigue me.
Give me an example.
Like, for example, I'm still very, very, very into the Chinese history during the Three Kingdoms. I don't know anything about Chinese history because I mostly grew up here. For some odd reason, that period of time is just something that I am very, very interested into.
Yeah.
Right. For example, then the American history, for some odd reason, I was always been very, very interested during the initial occupation of the New World, like how the Europeans come to North America. Why does South America speak Spanish? North America speaks French and English. Like, just a couple of examples of that. Like, I'm really into like weird parts of history, not the whole history, just weird parts of it.
You literally just took me back to social studies 10 in grade 10.
Yeah, it's not the fact that it's not
history.
but it's not the fact that it's not boring on a textbook. It's interactive on a YouTube or what have you, right? My little weird thing. Right? Just my little weird thing, right? Besides from that, though, before I became a full-time realtor, I did enjoy cooking a lot. Some of my friends know I like to cook here and there. I like to do some desserts. Taiwanese cooking is kind of my thing. Once again, super weird. Like, grew up here. I'm totally okay with Western food, but when it comes down to cooking, my automatic distinction is like, well, I want to cook some Taiwanese food.
Now, would you say you love eating or cooking more? Because I know you also love to eat.
I would say both. But cooking I would say cooking for me on a personal level is a way for me to de-stress.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to worry about anything. It's literally just the materials, the pot, the pans, and me. How I make this food taste will be based on my skill sets and my experience. Because anyone else can use the exact same material and create something much, much better, right? So this maybe comes
different, maybe not better.
Yeah, different. Yeah. And that comes with the repetitiveness, experience, and all that stuff. So that's what I would say. And as you can imagine, when I'm cooking, I'm listening to podcasts. Just kind of helps me de-stress and also learn some quirky, weird informations here and there.
Yeah, I mean, they make great talking points.
They do.
And I can't wait for this big Christmas dinner that you're going to make all of us this year.
What?
You've just been voluntold.
I was just like, did you just volunteer me for this stuff?
Yep. Okay, well, I would also like to know, what are some really proud moments that you've experienced in your life? Obviously, I think getting through like the last 16 years like on your own, that's a proud achievement in itself. Like being out on your own since you were 18 is like crazy. Definitely not the same story that I had. And I respect you a lot for that. But yeah, what's something that you're really, really proud of?
I think there's 2 points I think I could go back where I would say really kind of overtook me with emotions and stuff like that. It was quite overwhelming. The first one was when I paid off my student loan. Like, once again, I didn't have the bank of mom and dad, so everything was on student loan. And when I was much younger, money just wasn't a thing. Like, you know, oh, you're gonna me all this free money? Let's see how fast I can quickly spend this. Not in the university. Like anywhere else but university.
10, 20 years ago, I feel like the internet is not the place that it is now. And like, you know, that e-commerce, NFTs, crypto, like money just didn't go like fall off trees that easily.
No, it didn't. But then I was still like flat screen TV, that. I was wasting quite a bit of my money.
Okay, can you share with us how much was your student loan?
$54,000 in 2008. That's quite a bit.
That's quite a bit.
That's quite a bit. And don't forget the interest that was slapped on top of that as well, right? So when I did pay off my student loan, I still remember it was nighttime. I used my computer to pay off the balance. And then once I pressed send, I did cry. I cried a bit because at that moment when you're trying to survive and you don't know where in real estate you're going to be, and it's almost like your first pot of gold, and then you're able to kind of get rid of that crazy interest rate and just additional monthly payment, was such a relief to me that I felt at that point I could finally breathe.
Yeah. So you paid off your student loan shortly after you started your real estate career?
No, not shortly. I would say 3 years. And that's because I caught a good wave.
Yeah.
Really, honestly. Right? If I didn't catch that wave, I don't think I would be able to pay it off that early, or whether or not I'll be in real estate at all, to be honest with you, right? So that's the first moment. The second moment was me buying my first condo. We always say that the first one always means the most, right? And that is so true. The story is super funny. By the time I was buying my first condo, I was already a sales manager. And I probably signed like thousands of pre-sale contracts already at that time.
Yeah.
But when it was my turn, I still remember my hand was shaking like crazy. And I was sweating as if like I was running a marathon. And then I kept staring at the contract while my hand was shaking. I was like, I can't believe that this is actually happening, right? So I would say those are my two moments where I'm just like, wow, like, holy crap, that is an achievement.
Completely understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that about you at all. You always were super like composed, professional. So I saw, Joe had it like all together, but really hearing that and fully understanding like the challenges and the struggles that you've gone through since like you were a teenager still. Come on, let's be honest. When you're 18, you're still a teenager. Like, we look at 18-year-olds now, you're like, oh, that kid's kind of dumb. Like, but you had to literally survive based off of your own two hands. So I think, yeah, that's definitely a very proud accomplishment. And buying your first home and knowing that you bet everything on yourself and you won, I think that's really cool.
I think you said bet on yourself. Like, obviously, when I was doing all of this, there was no term as bet on yourself.
No.
It was mine, not
we
around,
were in
right?
survival mode.
Yeah, we were literally just on survival mode at that time. But obviously, now thinking back I was betting on myself. I was betting on myself, the fact that I could stay in Vancouver. I could make this work, right? I'm not gonna give up, because it's not like I couldn't give up. I could easily just give up and then just go back to Asia and enjoy whatever the life that it was there for me. But I just said, no, I'd rather not. And at that time, I was just very impulsive, very stubborn. I didn't think too much. But now, obviously, thinking back, that also what builds character.
Yeah, and I also understand why you always have this attitude that's like, no, nothing's impossible. No, we'll find a different way. No, there's a different way. Yeah. And that's a very refreshing outlook, because literally you've probably explored hundreds of different methods before finding the one that works for you.
Yeah. And then that's what I would say is I have no problem admitting my mistakes as part of my business, as part of my human being, just because I know that mistakes is what builds the foundation of success. Like, without me making all these mistakes, I wouldn't find a proper route to get out of the situation I was in.
Yeah. So on that topic, obviously real estate is the long-term career for you, but I know that you've had many different jobs before too in the past. Can you share with us, like, how you came to define that real estate was your true calling, and also what are some of the other jobs that like you've experienced? Because we have very different paths. Most of my experience has been in food and beverage, whereas you've been like all sorts of things. Yeah,
I mean, I think I would like to say I started young, because remember, I said I never had allowances. That $5,000 was the first time, and it was the last time. Right? So I started working part-time when I was 15. I would say 15 when I got into the world of retails and sales. I was like grade 10, grade 11-ish. I was working at a clothing store in Richmond Center. And I still remember very clearly, I was getting paid $6 an hour. The minimum wage was $8. So I'm gonna take this time to thank whoever made up this law saying that you could pay someone that is the first time working even lower than the minimum wage. Thank you. I don't know how you were able to get that passed.
You can't even get a Big Mac meal with $6.
Yeah. So I still remember working a full shift and I made $54.
8 hours.
8 hour shift. So that was how I started the world of retail and sales.
Is that business still in business today?
No, they're not.
Okay.
It's not. I don't want to say the name, but they were, at one time they were pretty big. They had a store in Metrotown, a store on West Broadway, and a store in Richmond Center. And they were just gone afterwards. Anyways. And then afterwards, obviously, I got into university. That's when I got introduced to Future Shop in my real sales background. I started as temp, seasonal for Christmas. I started CDs and DVDs and video game department. Back then there was still the top 10, top new releases. I still remember every Tuesday, because of the new releases and the resortedness, I guess they run a resorted top 10. Every Tuesday, my shift at Future Shop was at 5 a.m. So by the way, just so you guys know, back in the day, you're like, oh, I wonder who does all the top 1, top 2, like all these different
You were the one sorting.
I was the one that was sorting
at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, and then also, because back then people would take a CD and then they will take like 3 aisles down and put it somewhere else. So I have to redo all of that stuff as well. And I remember I scared my homestay mom at that time a couple of times just because I needed to leave the house and de-alarm the house at about like 4:30. I had to take the bus to go to a Future Shop at that time. So I still remember that. So thank you. And then as I started to move, work at Future Shop a little longer, then I moved around and I ended up being in the camcorder department. But I also had the privilege of basically selling pretty much at the store with the approval of our store managers and operating managers. I would say when I was working at Future Shop, that was probably the peak, or almost at the peak of kind of like these electronic commission sales. Because that was the introduction of LCD flat screen TVs, Blu-ray players, iPods.
There wasn't even a Best Buy at the time, right?
They were trying to compete with Future Shop at that time.
Yeah.
And obviously, the rest is history. They couldn't be Future Shop, so ended up buying it, right? Point and shoot cameras and like PS3, right? I remember when I was at Future Shop at the Lansdowne store, I was also, back in the days, I was called the open box kid because I only like to sell the open box stuff, right? Because
Why? Why? Were those easier to sell?
To me, it was. Because it still works, you still have all your warranty, and it's like 15% cheaper for core items, and I think it was like 30% cheaper for accessories, right? So, and then that's why just for point and shoot cameras, I was like, well, do you want to buy this one that's 15% cheaper, and I still guarantee you all the warranty, and you could shoot me right now to make sure that it works and everything. And then that's kind of how everything kind of started.
You're like the used electronic salesman
instead
of a used car salesman.
But then on the flip side, I was not the best on selling extended warranty because I didn't really.
You didn't believe in it.
Yeah. But I did believe in the open house stuff. I mean, not open house, open box stuff, right? And then, of course, during my time there, that was also how I got introduced to the world of real estate. I met a gentleman who's still in this industry, by the way, that introduced me kind of the resale and the pre-sale, mostly on the pre-sale side, but definitely shared quite a bit of knowledge in regards to just real estate in general, right? So that. He was my biggest client, I remember, and I don't know why, once again, probably just naiveness, I literally just open booked, asked him, hey, you just swipe well into the 5 digits with me. What do you do?
5 digits?
Yeah, 5 digits.
One client.
So I remember at that time he came in, I think he bought a flat screen TV, Blu-rays, activated 2 Palm Trios. You remember Palm Trios?
I don't even know what a Palm Trio is.
It's those old school phones that you could, it's the first generation of cellular phones that you could actually type emails.
Oh,
that's before BlackBerry.
Keyboard, yes.
Yeah. So he activated 2 with everything had extended warranty. DSL camera with a lens, iPod, laptop, and I think it was a PS3. And he told me that he was buying all of this for they just bought a place apparently, and for their kids. And I was just like, how old was your kid? He's like, oh, my kid was like, he was telling me his kid was like 10. I'm like, what kind of 10-year-old kid needs a Palm Trio? Like, your kid is already receiving emails? And by the way, guys, this was 2009? Right? I'm like, what is going on? Right? And then I still remember at the end, I needed to swipe his card. Then everything kind of went through in one swipe. And we're talking about like well into the 5 digits once again. And then because everything had extended warranty as a reminder. And that's when I was like, I had to ask. Because I was debating what I want to do with my life. And I had this pressure of, needing to go back to Asia. So I literally just asked him, what do you do? And then he kind of opened up, and then he was like, you know what, like this is what I do, blah 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 blah. And then that's how I got introduced.
So if he came to you and said, actually, I'm a drug dealer, then your life could have turned out very differently.
Maybe. maybe. Yeah, so that was kind of how I was introduced into real estate. And just, you got to understand, at that time, I don't know anything about real estate, man. Like, I was renting. I knew a little bit about the rental world. Like, I don't remember my mom and my dad having a realtor. Like, I don't remember any of this stuff, right? So all of this it's new, right? I really, at that point, just wanted to do something maybe a little bit different than what I needed to do at that time for 2 reasons. And this is the main 2 reasons why I decided to go into real estate. Is the glorified reason, this is the reason why I was telling everybody at that time was, hey, if I want to be in sales or in the business of helping people, why don't we go straight to the top of the pyramid? Right? What is the most important thing that people are going to buy in their life? A house, right? It's not these electronics, because PS2 is going to be followed by PS3, which is going to be followed by PS4, which is going to be followed by PS5, right? That's kind of the glorified reason. On a selfish reason, like I said, it was around this time when my parents gave me a lot of pressure of going back. So I really wanted them off my back. I wanted to stay. And I thought at that time real estate was something that they would be very proud of me if I invest my time in, over kind of, being a store manager at Future Shop. I'm not saying that a store manager at Future Shop was no good. They were making well into the 6 digits as well. But, in Asian parents' mind,
oh, you must be a doctor, a lawyer.
Successful business. What is successful? Oh, real estate or what have you, and all that stuff, right? So that was the 2 main reasons why I got into real estate. Yeah, kind of honestly speaking, shorter version is I bump into it. Like, I met someone at Future Shop and I bump into it.
Well, I'm very thankful for this guy. He literally changed your life and in turn is changing my life. So thank you, big baller at Future Shop.
He's still around, so if he ever watches this podcast, he'll know that I'm talking about him.
Okay, maybe you should send it to him.
Well, maybe.
Okay, well, now that you've been in real estate for a decade and a half, I want to know, what are some of your highlight reels of being a realtor? What are some of the not so glorious things that you've experienced? And what are some funny things that you think will stick with you forever?
Oh, yeah. Let's start with the highlights. The biggest highlight I would say is probably the opportunity I was blessed with to help literally thousands of people buy into real estate. Whether they have an agent in place or not have an agent in place, but them trusting what I have to say and put their signature on the dotted line. Right? And because of our business is really people-to-people business, I have made friends with people that I never really thought I would when I was much younger, honestly speaking. Right? Completely different paths of life. Right? And somehow, because of real estate, we became really, really, really good friends. And this lasts through the pre-sale, some of my colleagues, some of my clients, and now, of course, in resale, when I have deeper connections with a lot of my clients, that I would very proudly say that a lot of them have turned into my really, really, really good friends as well. Right? Those are my highlights. And of course, another highlight is being in projects where we literally sell out like the whole tower within 4 to 5 hours.
We're talking about like 200 units.
No, we're talking about like 400 units.
400 units.
Because of course this is the highlight part, but behind the table, of course, is what people don't see is the amount of like work. Like sometimes these prep work would put months and months and months of energy into it before we launched. A lot of people, they just see kind of the final results. It's like, oh my God, you blew it out in 4 to 5 hours. But in reality is we have so much behind the scenes stories that it's not as glorified as what one people would think, right? That's my highlight, right? My low light, I would say, is the amount of sacrifice I probably did in my 20s just to survive in this industry. I don't know, like you probably have a little taste of it, is I'm rarely at the parties. I'm rarely at any of this stuff. even when I was young, even till now. It's to a point where people have to keep asking me to come out, and I will find and all excuses not to come out, right?
They're not excuses, they're reasons, good reasons.
Yes, reasons. I had to say no because of many reasons. Number one is because, well, money. Going out is expensive. I really didn't have the money nor the backup of money to make that happen. And second of all, is just being real estate, my schedule is just so different. I can't go into work hungover. I can't. I was trying to make a name for myself, so I always have to be in this tip-top performance all the time. And I already look young at that time, remember, because of the Asian genes. I cannot have any misstep of, oh, I'm hungover today, like to give my colleagues or clients that feeling that, oh, you're just a irresponsible young kid, right? Hence the glasses at that time, the suit at that time, it's all an image that I was building where people would be like, hey, look, I'm taking this very, very seriously, but that is a sacrifice. And I have sacrificed so much for it, right? Like, for example, those EDM concerts that, 10, 12 years ago, friends are inviting. Do I not want to go? Part of me, of course I want to go. Do I not want to go to EDC and all that stuff? Of course I wanted to go. I wanted to go since the first time they went. But I have to make the conscious decisions, like, I can't do this. Number one, it costs way too much money. And number two, like, I can't. Like, how would other people think of me if I tell them that, hey, I'm taking this time off because I need to go to EDC, right? So I would say that's kind of the low light, right? Funny story. Oh man, I mean,
I'll start you off with one. How about that? So this is a funny story I was going to share another time, but in my early days of being a real estate agent, I don't even know if I was licensed at the time yet or not, but one day Joe rings me up and says, hey Jeff, do you want to make $100? I was like, okay, well, what do I have to do? She's like, oh, there's some stuff to clean up at one of my clients' houses that we just sold out in Coquitlam, and there's some like dog doo-doo. And I was like, okay, sure, I've like looked after dogs before in the past, like no big deal. I show up in that backyard and picked up over 50 pounds of dog doo-doo. No word of a lie. Over 50 pounds. Like, you guys know I go to the gym. I know what 50 pounds is like. I was not exaggerating. And looking back now, that was extremely funny because I was half in a suit. Thankfully, it wasn't raining, but literally, I didn't know how much like poop one dog could produce. And it looked like this individual had like maybe never picked up after their dog ever. And I don't even know, it didn't even seem like they lived there that long. The house was extremely new, but I will remember that story for the rest of my life, that when I was a new realtor, Joe asked me to go pick up like 50 pounds of dog shit.
I'm sorry? But no, thank you. It's a test of commitment,
I hope I passed.
No. Thank you. I guess for me, there's so many. Let's start off with, of course, you probably know, that's how we met, that there was this one project that it was so hot that people are lining up in the snow days before it was launched.
Oh yeah, it was like a 3-day gig, supposedly.
Yes. So it was funny because a lot of people thought that it was something that the developer set up. Like, the developer hire actors and stuff like that. I can say truthfully, we didn't. We didn't even want this to happen because we didn't expect it.
Yeah, it was so cold. Me and my friends took turns staying in the car to warm up.
Yeah. So, this is like, because it was so cold, we thought that, everything will be under control. But then for some reason, one agent just decided to start lining up. And then it caused this frenzy. And then they would just line up outside. People literally in the snow. Some of them are not even winter ready. I think they're just getting off work. And some realtors, I feel bad because at that time I wasn't a real estate agent running around. They came in a suit without the expectation that they're probably gonna have to stay there for a really, really, really long time. And they remained in a suit until we told them to disperse, right? So I would say that that's definitely one of the most craziest story. How about this is another project. The project was also very hot. This is on record. Someone has a video of this. It was a buyer literally was getting on their knees, begging me for a suite, as if I was the developer and I could do whatever the heck I wanted.
Yeah.
But in reality, it was a launch, and everybody was trying to grab files and stuff like that. And I'm like, my power is limited, right? But literally, like, she was like almost begging in a way. It's like I didn't give her food, and she's been starving for like 3 months or something like that, crying, screaming. Yeah, I have that. I mean, how about this? The one that we were first met, when I was there to start collecting numbers so I could start passing out to them to disperse. One guy literally spat at me, and another guy threw a racial slur at me. The craziest thing though about it is the guy that gave me the racial slur had worse English than I did. He is a new immigrant himself. So I don't know why he was, and for our listeners and friends by now, you probably know that English, like me and languages are just not, we don't mix. I can't express myself sometimes properly. But if I can feel like, dude, you can't even express yourself, why are you throwing racial slurs at me?
That's crazy. I mean, people getting on their knees begging you for a unit. I didn't think like people were that desperate to buy like a home.
Well, think about it. When last time in the last podcast, you say that you're like trying to hold 200 hangry people at bay, right? But they know the fact that eventually they'll get some
fed.
food.
Yeah.
They'll get fed. I'm dealing with people that thinks that I'm in their way of making hundreds and thousands of dollars, and there is no next. So things got really, really extreme.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, like that thing that I lined up for, I think we were like first 30 people.
Yeah. And that guy barely was able to get a home. Still with just to expose, he wouldn't even get the home that he wanted.
Jeez.
Yeah. Or another crazy story or funny story now thinking back is some Chinese guy, I remember, I forgot which project this is. I'm just thinking back. We were just on a table like this. He literally threatened me to tell me to stop speaking English in front of him because I look Asian. This is in Vancouver, by the way. Like, I'm not saying, oh, this is in Taiwan, this is in China. And the craziest thing to me at that point was the reason why I was speaking English, because there was someone in this, like, sitting around us that didn't speak Mandarin. But then he was like, blah, 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 like, you Chinese, why you're not speaking, like, shame on you, shame on your family, blah, 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 like that kind of stuff.
That's so extreme. Wow.
So I dealt with that situation as well. And of course, I dealt with other situations where, okay, this is not on the script. I'll just quickly share this with you, is that I was selling in UBC. The mom came and said, I will only buy if you teach my daughter math, because I don't know, for some odd reason, we were just kind of talking. I told him that I was a statistics and economic major, to teach her daughter math because her daughter's having problem with first year math. And I just graduated, so I should have that resemblance.
Can you write that into a contract?
No. At that point, I was like, it's
You'll
weird.
think about it.
It's weird, like, but I wanted the deal, right? So I was just like, I'll think about it. It's weird. Even the daughter felt it was weird. Though the daughter was right beside the client. The daughter felt, I was like, Mom, don't do this.
Is she looking for a math tutor, or is she looking for a son-in-law?
That's the craziest thing. And here's the craziest thing. 2 days later, after they signed the contract, I thought it was nice. I was just like, hey, you know what? Before it ended the contract, I was just following up. How's the 7 days? How's everything doing? Do you have any questions from the disclosure statement? Oh, by the way, that request that you said about teaching, I can't do it. I don't think I'm qualified for it. I'm not a professional at this. I was barely any good at school. She insisted, and I kept saying no. And then 24 hours later, she came and she canceled the contract.
Wow.
No joke. So that are some of the craziest stories I probably have.
So for people who think that being a realtor is like easy money, you just like shake some hands, show some homes,
open some doors.
This is prime example that there's a lot more that goes behind the scenes, stress, emotional and mental stress, and pressures that where some of us go under.
Yeah, fun. And that's on the guy side. Honestly, like sometimes I feel very bad for the female side of people that's in this industry because they get it a lot worse.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Worse.
Okay, so you've shared with us your experience and how you got into real estate and some highlights and lowlights. Now, I know that you worked in pre-sales for many, many years.
Yeah.
And at the end of your pre-sale career, you're actually in a very, very good position, seniority-wise. So what made you exactly transition from the pre-sale market into the resale market that we're in now?
It's funny though, if you ask me this question in different days, I'll probably give you a different answer.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just summarize it into 3 parts, okay? And that way, it will cover all the bases of my mood and what have you. I guess the first reason why I decided to leave my comfortable pre-sale to get the challenge the resale is I was getting really sick of saying the same thing over and over and over again. Sometimes I feel like I said the same thing probably tens of thousands of times. Explaining kind of the same product to different people. There was one day I still remember very clearly. The turning point for me was I remember very clear. I was doing a tour. I was talking. I was asking all the questions. I was listening, but I realized I wasn't engaged because in the back of my mind, I was thinking, what do I want to cook for dinner? What are the recipes that's required? And like when do I expect to make this happen? During the same time, I'm still.
Yeah, it's like you were on autopilot, basically. And I think we've all kind of been in a situation like that when you start to lose passion in what you're doing in a job.
Yeah.
And hopefully for those of us that resonate with that, we find a way to get out of that situation and find something different.
Exactly. And I still remember halfway through that tour, all of a sudden I snapped back. And then my brain just started to think differently. And then I started to question wait, is this what I wanted to do? Right? So that's the first reason. The second reason, then of course links to the first reason is just, I thought to myself at that point, what is the logical next step? Okay, let's say that I stay in pre-sale for even longer period of time. I was already the sales manager, right, for a very reputable developer, right? So sales director, because I can't just become a developer. You work at a store restaurant. This doesn't mean that you just go and open up your own restaurant. Right? Imagine in real estate, I can't just be like, I'm a sales manager. I'm going to be a developer. That's even crazier.
Yeah, there's like a million steps you got to go through before you get to do that.
Exactly, right? So I was like, okay, maybe it is a sales director. So I started to really look into what sales directors do, with the sales director I was working at that time and the sales director I was working before. And I started to realize that as a sales director, you are now leaning more into kind of the human resource side of things instead of sales. And that was something that I just didn't want to get myself involved in because I saw at that point just how much people controlling is that particular role instead of, hey, we have this beautiful product, are you interested, so on and so on. So yeah, so the first reason linking to my second reason, and my third reason is I gotta be careful when I say this. I wasn't loving where the pre-sale world was heading when I left. Not saying that pre-sale is bad, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just thinking that at the end, I felt like pre-sale turned into something that I didn't initially sign up for. You probably know by now, I'm very into kind of the deeper relationship, really helping people into finding the home that they want, regardless if it's a resale or a pre-sale. If you buy into a pre-sale to live, I really hope that you're excited for the amenities, you're excited for all these finishings, right? However, I felt like the pre-sale world started to lean more towards speculators. A lot of them are just buying it as long as the number makes sense. It doesn't matter what the beautiful brochure, what the floor plan, it didn't matter what any of that said. All it matters is what price am I buying it today?
Bottom line.
And then what am I going to sell in 3 years from now? I have no interest in living in this whatsoever. So I don't care. You just tell me what is the potential return on this. and at the end I was just like, okay, this isn't really what I signed up for. And on top of that, when a particular person just talks about numbers, there was not, that deeper relationship never really existed, right? And that got me a little bit disappointed in a way, because I was definitely more interested into helping people settle down with their life, and make a decision, really, honestly, on somewhere they will live, and not really treating this purchase like, a cash printing machine, right? And that's the reason why, because I felt like it was just in, sign out, in, sign out, in, sign out, and I don't even know who came or who left. And like when sometimes the other people start to ask me, hey Joe, like this is like 6 months later, do you know what kind of parking spot I got? I'm like, first of all, who are you? I don't remember who you are. And then I have to start looking at the contract, and I'm like, I can't remember who you are. When did you buy this home? Were you my 1 o'clock appointment? Were you my 2 o'clock appointment? And at that point, I just went, there is no human to human interactions on that anymore. And then at that point, I just thought, okay, maybe this isn't for me anymore. Maybe I do want to go out there and, gain back why I joined this industry in the first place.
Yeah. No, I understand completely what you're saying. It's just, real estate's more than just a transaction for, people like you and I, whereas it sounds like the way you were describing it, it was like, hey, let's try to pump out as many deals as we can and then call it a day. Yeah.
And once again, I understand why it morphed into that way. All I'm saying is that it no longer aligns my thoughts with what it was happening.
Yeah.
And I felt like if that's the case, then my advantages and my intent is no longer being appreciated.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, judging by how the last couple of years have been for you, it seems like it was a great move, and definitely your strengths are being fully utilized now.
Thank you. No, it was because of these couple of years, the market obvious is one, but being able to produce the result that I produce, further cement the fact that I knew what I was thinking. It's better for who I help. Yeah. Not the, hey, you come in, sign here, get out of here. You come in, yeah, you'll make whatever. Yeah, you'll make 200K. You'll make 200K. Like it's not that anymore for me.
Yeah, it's not rewarding for you.
It's not. That's not
why
rewarding.
You can't be passionate about it and get behind it.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about your journey through the resale process. Obviously you had to select a brokerage, Faith Wilson, Christie's International Real Estate. Like, how did you find yourself there? Why this brokerage? Like, what is it about Faith Wilson that makes you feel like it gives you the competitive edge over, whatever, Remax, Sutton, Keller Williams? Oh yeah, no, great question. Funny thing is, my history with Faith goes way back. It goes back probably into the first year I joined the industry, so that's like 2008. Wow. I had, obviously when I was thinking about leaving, I had a lot of different opportunities. There was definitely managing brokers. I have other realtor friends that was like, hey, you should join our brokerage, you should join our team, blah, blah, blah. But there was just something about that first interaction with Faith that I couldn't forget, right? I still remember I was a front desk, and then I was just, doing my thing, and it wasn't super busy or what have you. It was in UBC, by the way. And then this lady came in, and I remember just looking up, and I just remember she stuck her hand out. I was like, hi, my name is Faith. I'm a real estate agent with, I think it was Remax at that time. I would like to learn more about the project. Do you have some time? And I remember looking up, and I was just like, whoa. Like, there's something about Faith and her professionalism. It really just came right out. And I haven't forgot about it. That's how strong that first impression was, that I was just like, wow, this is a true professional. This is what realtors should all look like, not the ones that comes in with, jeans, slippers, what have you. Right? And the way that she just carried herself, I'm just like, wow, this is so impressive. Remember, I was like 24 years old. I shouldn't be caring about this stuff, but then that energy that she just gave out. So fast forward a little bit, I haven't talked to Faith for a really long time. And then, however, that image of that whole interaction just never left. So when I was reopening myself kind of into the resale world,
a colleague of ours, James Howe, which we'll bring into the podcast one day. He was already working together with Faith, and I just thought, hey James, this is kind of my plan. I started to open up to a little bit about telling people about what my plan is, and then James was like, well, if you have such a strong impression with Faith, why don't you come and talk to Faith? Faith has a brokerage now. And maybe, Faith will help you out, and then, you get to experience that professionalism. And I just went, okay, sure. I sat down, and honestly, the rest is history. Right? I did sit down with other brokerages as well that I was interested in, and just nothing really was there in comparison to Faith. And I guess this really tells you that first impression is truly important, because I left 3 years ago in pre-sale. Sorry, 4 years ago. Three and a bit now. I said 3 and a bit. That's after a 12-year gap, 13-year gap. And I still remember the first interaction I had with Faith in 2008. So that's kind of how everything kind of got together. And obviously what Faith is able to provide through Christie's, through that professionalism, I realized that it's not just her, it's the whole brokerage, which I really want to align myself with, because I do see myself as a professional. And I want to get treated like a professional, right? I'm not into this, the slimy part of the business or what have you. I just want to do my things as a true professional. So I thought, if I want to be treated as a professional, I want to have the advantage of being looked at as a professional, then I better align myself with who I think is a professional.
Yeah. No, you're right. You know what they say, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly. Right. So that's how I kind of realign myself with Faith. And honestly, I've been super happy ever since. And I feel like that was the right decision for me and what I wanted at that time and even till now.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned real estate being the top of the pyramid in terms of sales. So obviously, a lot of people are very aware of that, and real estate is one, if not the most hyper-competitive industry when it comes to sales. How do you make sure that you're at the top of your game and you're producing the numbers that you're producing and you stand out of 15,000 realtors in the Lower Mainland?
I mean, it's not just one thing that you do. I truly believe it's a combination of a lot of things that puts you who you are. So I generally like to break it down to 2 parts for myself, that how I stand out in comparison to maybe some other agents out there. Number 1, it's all about knowledge. I'm not saying I'm the most knowledgeable person out there. But I would say that at least I have my basics covered, right? Know your product and know the current economy and the current market and how that would impact the future. And this is where my pre-sale background really came into handy, because I also understand what the city really wants to do in regards to future planning.
Yeah.
For example, if I tell people that there's plan for 15 high-rises coming up in Port Moody, a lot of people are like, what? Why? Right? They don't know, because this is all part of the plan, right? How about the fact that Metrotown is all going to get torn down? It's already starting, but the plan is to eventually tear the whole Metrotown down and turn Metrotown almost like an indoor-outdoor mall, right? Those are the things that really pre-sale was able to kind of prepare me for resale. And when I talk to people that wants to shop about condos and stuff like that, being able to tell people exactly what's going to happen around is very, very, very useful. It builds that level of trust very, very quickly. And the second one, I learned this from a mentor of mine, an online mentor. It's the 95-5, I like to call it, and he calls it. It's basically when I operate in between myself and my client, is 95% super low pressure. And I only want to tone it up to that high pressure when I truly firmly believe that it is the best for the client. I have no problem talking a client out of the deal. But at the same time, when I do feel like this is the right product for the client, I will turn it up and be like, you really need to reconsider what you just said. This is very, very important. I still remember a veteran within this industry told me a long time ago in pre-sale is that everybody loves shopping with a friend. They don't want to shop with a professional. I'll give you a perfect example. You love cars, right? When we go car shopping and we get to test drive without the salesperson in there, it's such a different experience in comparison to when the salesperson is in there, right? Yeah. And that's why I say shopping with a friend or shopping with a professional, right? It's a different intent. If the salesperson is in there, I get to step on it a little bit harder and all that stuff. And I don't have to listen to the sales pitch while I'm trying to enjoy these things. And that's what I'm trying to recreate in real estate terms. When I help buyers, I'm mostly like, I'm just shopping with you. Like, we're friends, we're looking at homes and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not looking at the same spot that you're looking. I might be chatting with you like a friend, but I'm looking at other areas that you might want to, you want to be maybe, I know that they might not see it, right? Because like I said, like shopping with a friend it's more fun than shopping with a professional.
Of course, it's a whole entire experience.
Exactly.
Real estate is an experience.
Exactly, right? So that's why I would like to say that's my 95-5, and I think it's worked so far, and that's kind of the way that I would love to continue working on my business and being the core value of my business. Because honestly, coming from a pre-sale, environment, nobody likes the 80s car salespeople style anymore, where they deceive you, lie to you, just keep shoving things down your throat until you literally sign a dotted line. Like, I don't think I could do that to anyone because I don't even enjoy that being done to me sometimes.
No, I don't think you could ever do it. I can't imagine myself doing that to anybody either.
Yeah.
But throughout your career in real estate, I'm sure you've maybe thought about this a couple of times where the reasons of why you entered real estate in the beginning may have changed over the course of your career. Now, what is it exactly that you want to get out of real estate now? Why are you still in it now?
Yeah. I think my why comes in two parts. A lot of people, their why is just one part. I think I have a public reason and a private reason. And I'll share both of it today. My public reason is it's the purpose and the ability to change people. How they live, how the economic outlook is going into the future. And not just my clients, my mentees, my colleagues, just kind of like what you said, Jeff, like knowing the fact that someone trusting you with probably the biggest purchase of their life comes with great power, which of course, to quote Spider-Man, also comes with great responsibilities, right?
Thank you, Uncle Ben.
Thank you, Uncle Ben. That's my public reason. My private reason is I do want to provide a lifestyle for my parents and the people that I love, because I feel like that's what they truly deserve, right? So that's kind of the reason why, the things I want to get out of real estate, really. And I'm not here to say I want to be number one. It'll be great that I'm top one, but this is the reason why that's pushing me forward every single day, knowing the fact that I'm helping other people while also helping my parents to increase their lifestyle as they deserve. Yeah.
Knowing you the way that I do, that's completely understandable, and it's very authentic as to who you are. So thank you for sharing that. Final finish line for you in real estate. Okay, how are you gonna know you've made it, and what does that look like?
My finish line will probably, once again, personal level will be to retire myself and retire my parents. That is a big why for kind of my finish line for real estate. Being at the same time, being able to change how people look at our industry. I really hate the fact that how there's a certain bad apple that literally ruins the reputation of realtors. While there are other people, such as me and you, that is trying to do honest work, but we're still getting categorized into part of that, right? I'm gonna very comfortably and very confidently say I have never done anything that I feel like I'm not putting my client's best interest at heart. Unfortunately, I can tell you that's not for every single realtor, right? But I want to take this opportunity for the listeners of this podcast to know that not every single agent is like this. I'm not saying, oh, I'm not like this, everybody else is like this. Nor am I saying we're this and everyone. No, they're good. I know so many good agents out there that will never deceive to their client. They just want to do their work, help out with their knowledge, and then, have dinner, have food, and spend some time with their family, right? It's not everybody is like bullshitting, I'm not hesitating because I want to swear a little bit, like bullshitting, saying a bunch of stuff, deceiving, and, just not caring about their client. it seems like it's sad because at points where it seems like the media wants to project every single realtor like that. And I understand because there are some agents that is like that, but then again, that goes with any industry. Right?
Exactly.
It goes with lawyers, it goes with family doctors, it goes with anything. Any industry that you can think of, there's good and bad. Right?
Well, speaking of doctors, I looked up at least 20 walk-in clinics to try and get my stitches removed. And it seemed like every single doctor's office had less than 4-star reviews on Google. Does that mean that all doctors are trash? No, because doctors literally save people's lives. Like the people that actually did my stitches and removed them, they were so positive.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like all people are not the same, all realtors are definitely not the same. I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah. So if I feel like, even if I can change that outlook for, say, I don't know, let's say 100 consumers out there thinking, oh, maybe not all agents are bad. I think I did my job, honestly.
Good. Awesome. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here. We've talked a lot about you as an individual, but I think what our listeners are really interested in is your personal outlook on what the market is going to be like in 2023. We understand, these are all just based off of your experiences, your research, your opinion. So everyone, please do your own research. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't take what we say on this podcast as a, no, you must.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, there's a lot of things coming in 2023. You know that. We actually, some of them are already implemented. I mean, while we're shooting this podcast, was it a couple days ago? They just passed that Stratas can no longer restrict rentals.
Yep. Unless the 55 plus buildings. Those are the only ones that are still protected.
Exactly. However, with all these changes that's coming up, I feel like that is not going to change the outlook too much. That's what I feel. I'm gonna break next year into two. I feel like during the spring season, I feel like even if as the interest rate goes up, I feel like we're still gonna be stuck with this very low inventory status, which means that our prices is most likely gonna stay roughly the same. It might go up a little bit, it might come down a little bit, but I feel like the biggest changes is probably done for now. The second half of 2023, I personally feel like it might go crazy again. Not like COVID crazy, but I feel like the market is definitely going to swing up because all these people that are waiting to buy or wanting to buy, and then I think there's going to be at that point more people wanting to sell. So there'll be more inventory onto the market, which will be great.
Now, you think that more people that are wanting to sell stems from them not being able to afford their mortgages?
Right. So I feel like as we enter the third year of COVID, first of all, I mean, the people with variable rates mortgages, their trigger rate has already been reached. So some of them needs to start considering whether or not they want to keep doing this. I'll be very upfront. My condo, they raised my monthly payment twice already because I hit trigger rate twice. And I think there's more trigger rates coming. But not just that. If these people who has variable rates that their trigger rate has been reached, plus the people who sign a 3-year fixed term during the peak of COVID when people were just buying like crazy. And their 3-year fixed term is about to come to an end at the latter part of next year.
And they were sitting at 2%?
Or maybe even lower than that. Some of them are sitting at 1-something%. And it's time for them to renew and they're gonna be hit by 6.5%. Some of them, their monthly payment is gonna go up anywhere between $400 to $2,000 depending on how much their mortgage is. And that is going to really reconsider about their current living standards. Maybe they wanna downsize once again. I mean, maybe they just don't wanna do this, they wanna go back to renting, right? We don't know, but I feel like not a lot of people are just gonna be like, okay, I'm fine with 1.5% up to 6.5%. Right? I don't think I don't think everybody will be okay with it. There's definitely some people that just I can't do this anymore. I took the wrong step due to COVID, and now I regretted it, and I need to get this thing offloaded. Right? And then maybe I'll go back to a townhouse, or maybe I'll go back to a condo. Right? That's what I think 2023 is going to play out, and that rise in inventory will only spike the activities in the market. I see this in the market update, and I'll say this again. If we have more inventory right now in the market, there'll definitely be more sales. Our low sales right now, yes, interest rate has to do with it, but partially is also because there's just not good inventory out there right now. Any agent that's listening to a podcast is probably like, yes, I agree. Yes, I agree right now. Right. So that's what I think.
Okay. Well, now what about immigration?
Well, I mean, these are not going to help with what I say, right? Immigration, with more immigration coming in, it just means that I don't foresee an end to this rental crisis that we're also experiencing. And at a certain point, I keep saying this in market updates, at a certain point, people will be like, what the heck? Why am I paying $5,000 for this townhouse? Why not just go buy it for $900,000? Vice versa, right? Granted, not everybody is on that boat, but whoever is on that boat, they'll really start to seriously consider it, especially if the rent just doesn't come down. It just keeps staying in this very, very, very elevated level, right? And we have all these people, they're still all gonna come in. We had 100,000 last year, and we're projected to have over 100,000 every single year for the foreseeable future. All of these people need a place to live, to stay and live, but we're not building anything close to it. And it's a very simple supply and demand issue. If our supply stays the same and more people just keeps coming, our demand gets higher and higher, guess what's gonna happen to price or rent?
It's just gonna shoot up.
It's just gonna keep shooting up, and that's on top of inflation and all that stuff. And people are like, well, there's recession. What does recession has to do with rent? It's
no matter what, you're gonna need some place to live.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like, oh my God, I lost a job. Hey, Mr. Landlord, can you lower your rent by $2,000 for me because I don't have a job? The landlord will be like, no, pay your rent.
Here's your eviction notice.
Yeah, because I have someone else who doesn't need a $2,000 discount to afford my place. They're a new immigrant, they have cash ready. So I don't feel like this immigration thing is gonna help. The immigration thing is just gonna make what I said about the second half of 2023 even stronger. Right? Because I know we both have clients that's literally just on the sideline, like, when is this product gonna come out of the stuff that I want to buy? I'm ready. My money is ready. Like, just tell me.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the immigration and recession, it's really not gonna play too. I mean, the immigration is, but I feel like this whole potential recession or this recession thing is not going to play into all of a sudden our prices just starts tanking, our rental just starts tanking. No, because the reality of the fact is people still want to be here because we're still one of the most beautiful city in the world. Right. So
no, you're absolutely right. As you always say, supply is always the issue in Vancouver.
And I'm, once again, going back to supply, I'm really hoping this whole David Abbey thing will really pan out because they have tried everything that they can through the demand, HST, foreign buyer tax, blah, 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 blah. And we're still one of the most expensive cities in the world. So.
All right, David Abbey, it's on you. Let's get it done. Now, we're approaching kind of a wrap up for our interview today. I would like to go over some rapid fire questions with you as well, just like as you did with me, because I think it could be fun.
Okay.
Let's start with sushi or pasta.
Sushi. I'm not a big fan of cheese.
Really?
I'm really not a big fan of cheese.
I actually thought that you love cheese.
When?
I don't know.
The sushi I think I can eat sushi for like the rest of my life if I really want to.
Okay, do you have a favorite sushi restaurant?
Yes I do. In town, I like, I wanna give maybe a couple of options to people. The omakase sushi, the one on Granville and 70th, sushi.
I don't remember the name.
Sushi June, I think, and that one was really, really good. For the everyday ones, I really like the one on Carousel underneath London Drugs. What is that one called? I'm just having a brain fart moment right now. You know what I'm talking about? It's Carousel.
I know there's a sushi restaurant in
right
Carousel.
Right behind it.
I have no idea.
And then for the new brewery things, I really like Greenleaf. Greenleaf is...
Oh, okay. You were just there last week.
I was, and I forgot how yummy it was, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, I already know the answer to this next question, I think, based off of what you've said so far in your interview. But podcast or ebook?
Podcast. Ebooks are too long. I tried. I still have 15 credits on audible.ca that I haven't used. No, not that I'm not listening to books. Like, I can't. I just give up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's way too long. I rather I like to treat the podcast kind of like the Coast Notes version of these ebooks, and I like them going to different podcasts saying the same thing, because then it's like repeated messages
Yeah.
in my head, even though it's like different podcasts with different hosts, but he's saying literally the same things.
Yeah, you get little bits here, little bits here, little bits here.
Yeah.
YouTube or Instagram?
YouTube. All my good friends knows that I love YouTube. I think I've been so addicted to YouTube for like over 10 years now, and now probably YouTube Shorts as well. I use YouTube for everything.
Yeah.
How do I install my computer? What happened in 1903 in, I don't know, Cleveland, Ohio? What was part of this history? How do I feed my dogs? Like everything is YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noodles or rice?
Rice, because it goes better with more things.
Does it really?
I think so. Like, come on, there's a couple of things that that you could pour on rice that you can't just pour on noodles.
Like what?
Like mapo tofu, for example.
I wouldn't eat that normally.
What? Weird. Anyways, but it's funny that you wrote noodles and rice. When I saw the script, I was kind of thinking about it. A funny story on the side is that me and my family, the members of my family, always had a split between noodles and rice. Maybe because my dad's background is from northern China, my mom is maybe from southern China. It's a cultural thing within China. It's funny because then one of my brother grew up hating to eat noodles. He hated. He rather just not, and he would cry every time my mom makes noodles.
That's extreme.
It's so extreme. He only likes to eat rice when he was a kid. Now he will keep crying until the noodle absorbs all the soup, and then he gets too hungry from crying. Then he will just
start eating it slowly.
Start eating the soggy noodles slowly.
Poor kid.
Oh, that's my brother. I could eat whatever, but I just prefer rice.
Yeah. Okay. Condos or townhomes?
I mean, we are in a townhouse right now.
Yeah.
But this one is unique, and you know why. I don't need to do a full tour of my house. But if it wasn't for this, I think I would still prefer condos. I know we had this whole discussion about condos and townhouses with the elevator and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But my dream is still a high-end luxurious condo.
One of those 1,500 square foot ones.
Yeah.
2,000 square foot ones.
Yeah, and if you ask me, because I see that you didn't ask me the question there, penthouse or single family house, I will always choose a penthouse. Always. That's just me.
Okay, big baller. What about coffee or tea? Yeah, I should have known that.
Coffee. Funny story is I hated coffee when I was in university. Here's another weird story, and I apologize to my roommate. He still talks about it. My roommate, when I was living in my room, he loves coffee. And at that point, I hated coffee. I hated the smell. I hated the way that it drinks. There was one time he got into my car, he bought a new fresh coffee. And I literally told him to roll down the window and chuck that coffee out of my car.
Wow.
I hated coffee that much. I was like, no.
Sorry, coffee, your dad hates you.
Oh, don't say that. That was me before. And then like I said, as I kind of work into real estate, one of my VP at that time introduced me. He's like, Joe, you look super tired today. Please just have one of this. Have one sip and never stop.
Change your life.
Literally changed my life forever. Thank you.
That's weird, because I'm the complete opposite. You never see me drink coffee, really.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, honestly.
Water, at least 3 liters a day. Running or cycling?
Running. I'm an avid jogger for 10 plus years. You know that. I would just say this, man. The runner's high, it's a real thing, man. Like, you can't compete with it. That clarity that it gives you afterwards, I think is the dopamine hit. You know, once you go through such a long, prolonged period of pain and agony, once you stop, the dopamine just shoots way high. Kind of like cold shower. That's the reason why we both take cold showers. It's the same idea. And that's probably the reason why I love jogging. I try cycling. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Beer or wine?
I do like the beer's buzz better. And the reason why I say that is as I get older, the hangover is so serious now. With beer, at least 45 minutes later, I go to the washroom, I come out, and I'll be fine. Right? Oh man, the wine, like the hangover hits you like a truck sometimes. I do like drinking red specifically. And you know the red gives you the most intense headaches.
Yeah.
So Wine is a love-hate thing. There are days, like for example, Rita, my girlfriend, loves wine, and I drink it with her here and there. But if it's my choice, then I will say beer.
Okay. Last one. Downtown or suburb?
Suburb for me, even though I just say I love penthouses, super weird.
Yeah.
Maybe a penthouse in the suburbs. It's just less crazy people and just overall less people altogether. I don't mind being with people, but when it comes down to me unwinding, I do like to not have so many people around, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. And to wrap up, we want to give you an opportunity to share with us anything that you want. It could be about anything, but keep it to under 1 minute.
Okay. Well, thank you. I guess I'll start off by currently, as the shooting of this podcast, I have 2 listings that I would love the listeners, if you're an agent or a consumer, to check out. Both of them are very, very unique. One of them is located at 4177 Stello Crescent in the UBC area. Is a it's a prepaid leasehold that has 51 years remaining. Fully renovated, a beautiful home for anyone that wants to live on the west side, but for a fraction of the price. Because if you just get outside of the leasehold, that same house is probably going to cost you like $6 million. Okay. The second one I really believe is truly stunning and beautiful is the listing at Maple Ridge, 11680 252nd Street. This is the second time I talk about it. It's a over 6-acre land that it touches the Connecticut Creek Regional Park. It's located in the Western Commons area in Maple Ridge. It's such a unique property because the home itself takes a lot of their design inspirations from kind of the indigenous backgrounds and stuff like that. We have the videos on my IG, on my website. Like, once again, guys, like, buy it, don't buy it, it's okay. Just check it out. It's such a unique property that you don't see a lot in Greater Vancouver.
Okay, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, as for the people who's thinking about buying and selling, if you're interested in getting opinion from an agent that has experience but holds the eagerness of a newer agent, then I'm your guy, because I am not so established that I have 50 team members that you're just going to be thrown left, right, and center. But yet, I'm not green enough or new enough that I don't know anything. So I feel like this is the perfect balance where you want to talk to an experienced agent, but maybe, but who also has time for you. Well, I truly believe that I'm in that perfect medium balance that would satisfy your needs. So that's what I'll say for my 30 seconds.
All right, Joe, sold. When it's time to sell my place, I'm definitely using you as a realtor.
You better.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for being with us today. Your support and feedback is really what drives this podcast and also motivates Joe and I as individuals and business owners and realtors. As a reminder, this was a wrap-up for our first season. 16 episodes in, 4 months. It's been a pretty crazy latter half of the year. We look forward to sharing with you a new season in January, where we're also introducing a new format, including a very exciting special guest that you do not want to miss out on.
That's right. So we want to take this opportunity to our listeners. Hope you guys have a great holiday season, and we look forward to talking to all of you guys in 2023.
Don't forget to tune in through your favorite podcast platform. This is Jeff.
This is Joe.
We're the Micro Vancouver Real Estate. Can't wait to see you in the new year.
Bye, guys.
Bye.